This is Israel. I'm Chris Cuomo. We are doing our continuing coverage for NewsNation. We are here in Tel Aviv. We are okay. That happened outside our hotel just moments ago. Drones are up in the air once again. If the signal goes down, that's what it is. We're prepared for it, but just so you understand. People here are desperate because of the reality, and desperate people do desperate things. That is the motivation behind what you're seeing on your screen right now. Israel's invasion has begun. The shelling has been going on for days. The shelling is going on there, and as you know, it is going on here. The death toll is high, and it's going to get higher. Some 2,000 Palestinians are already reported to have died because of the shelling. That number is going to go up. It's going up probably right now in the dark, as Israelis are trying to seek advantage there in hopes of finding Hamas and finding the hostages, including Americans, who are in the worst kind of predicament that there is imaginable. Palestinians have been told to evacuate. Now, here's the problem with that. That is Israel's suggestion of trying to spare innocents, but they have nowhere to go. And for all the talk about the Arab Brotherhood and the love for Palestine and the surrounding countries, no one is offering them entry. Egypt has closed its border. So these people have nowhere to go, and that's something to discuss with the Israeli command, and we will do that tonight. Now, today, we were in Jerusalem, and there was an expectation of chaos after prayers. In Jerusalem, which is, of course, the city of greatest conflict between Palestinians and Israelis, Arabs and Israelis, there was relative calm because of how on edge everything was. The military was there. They had rounds in their weapons. They were pointing it in the directions of threats, and anyone that they saw that they thought was a threat was getting treated as you're seeing right now. We walked those streets. We saw what was going on. The altercations were minimal, but they were real, and they were being met with huge numbers of force, and that's just here. Darkness brings a different reality. There's one in Gaza right now, and there is one here. Air raids were more common. There was an explosion right in front of the hotel during the day, and then at night, this is what we were met by. Now, what you're hearing is actually the Iron Dome Patriot missiles intercepting some type of bomb or missile or rocket or something that was sent over. The red haze you're seeing is from one actually landing. There but for the Iron Dome, there but for the grace, who knows? But here we are, and we're okay. This is why you don't sleep much in these situations, and when you do, you sleep with your clothes on so you can get up and get ready. This was taken right outside of our hotel room. The explosion was right overhead. In Gaza, it is certainly much worse. There is no Iron Dome. There is much heavier shelling going on that is much more accurate and therefore much more deadly. Innocent people are paying a price for Hamas's atrocities. There are Americans hidden in and among the Hamas ranks, and Americans are also running for their lives on the streets of Gaza. There are Palestinian Americans. There is new information. There are new numbers. There are new details, and I want to share it with you as we understand the developing realities. I'll take your calls tonight. 844-968-7700. I'll take your calls. But I want to take you through what are the greatest points of risk that we're seeing. And again, if we get knocked off, it's not necessarily because of explosions. It's because of these drones that are knocking out communications to make it easier for Israel to operate without detection. So I want to talk about the urgency of what's happening in Gaza, as innocents have been put in an impossible situation by Hamas. I want to bring in Haifa Coweds. Now, she's the wife of Heshem Coweds. He's located in Gaza. They know he is there now, but he cannot get out. His wife, Haifa, is joining us with their 8-year-old daughter. Haifa, can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. And is your daughter okay? Can she hear what we're saying? Is she all right with it all?
She can't hear. There is no anything
Okay.
in her ear, but she can talk
What,
if I ask her.
okay. When is the last time, Haifa, that you heard from your husband, and what is his situation?
Today at 3 p.m. Texas time, he texted me. First in the morning, he texted me they are going to move from a place to place, which may be safer. Then he texted me 3 p.m. that they reach with his brothers to the new place, which is the west, because it was ordered to move from north to west. And then at 3, he said it might cut the internet, so just wait till I get any connection and talk to you, send you text again, and just pray for us to have little bit quiet night. But till now, I don't know. He's there with his brothers from California, and they are in very bad situation. The trip was very hard on them, from a place to place.
What is your biggest fear for your husband? Is it a plus or a minus for him that he is an American?
He has been, we were contacting many places. He contacted the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, and nothing happened, and the bombs, it's throwing everywhere. So I don't know about the hope, just I'm praying and praying for him to come back safely to us, that he can get out, because there is nowhere to get out from.
Now, we heard from the Secretary of State that they were going to be making efforts to get out Palestinian Americans. Of course, it's very hard to do that in the middle of an invasion. The Israelis are supposed to be looking for hostages. Your husband's not a hostage, but he is held hostage by this situation. What is your greatest fear?
To lose him. And I don't want to lose him. I want him back.
And I know that with communications going down, you don't know when you're going to hear from him. You wanted to say something about your daughter, yes?
Yeah, she misses him. She misses him a lot. And every time he get a connection and text while she's in the school, like she hasn't talked to him more than a week now. And she hoped to see him again.
We will stay on the story. I hope very much that he is able to get out, or he is able to stay safe. I know it's a difficult situation, but we're shining a light on the Americans that are trapped on both sides of this conflict. And we wish you the best, and we wish your husband the best. Thank you for letting us know where he is and what his situation is. I wish you and your beautiful little daughter the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I want to bring in Erica Okamura and Akemi Hyatt. Now, they are the nieces of Ramona Okamura. She is an American pediatric humanitarian aid worker who is also stuck in Gaza. I was speaking earlier today to an aid worker there, and they're very worried about their safety. They're trying to help other people, as you know, these angels among us, like your aunt, are wont to do. They want to help others before they help themselves. What do you understand to be Ramona's situation right now?
Thank you. We understand that she is maybe 5 miles from the Egyptian border and is waiting for there to be a convoy that can take her and her fellow humanitarian aid workers swiftly out before there is, an incoming fear of a ground invasion, and with the pressure of the millions of other people that are also trapped there.
When's the last time you got to speak to her?
I believe the last time we spoke to her was yesterday via text. So she doesn't have connection to the internet. It's not stable right now. So we've been talking to her on text messages, and I think that the last time was 10 a.m. yesterday, Hawaii time. So that
what does it mean? What? Oh, I understand. Right, the time difference. Right. The the extra variable here of Egypt having closed its border. What does that mean in terms of your aunt's ability to connect with the convoy and get across? Are there exemptions, exceptions being made?
I think, according to my understanding of these types of situations, it's practiced. It's common practice to allow humanitarian aid safe passage, and it's necessary for both sides to have medics, healers there present. So I think that that's what needs to happen. And if we can send a message, please let that happen. Bring Auntie Ramona home through safe passage, through a corridor for humanitarian aid.
I know that her birthday was yesterday, 71 years young, and that she's living what she believes is the purpose in her life. How concerned are you about this conflictual dynamic even within the Palestinian population, where they're being told to get out, but Hamas and other religious leaders there are trying to tell people to stay? Are you concerned that your aunt may not want to leave because she cares about the people who stay behind?
She certainly would like to be able to escape so that she can continue her work. Her work involves creating prostheses for children, so she usually would not be there during an active ward's time. She happened to be there on a routine mission, and she's been trapped. So she is with a lot of other aid workers, Americans and civilians, who are all pushing to leave, and she's currently in a UN building where she's with, I think, like about 800 other people all trying to do the same thing. So our fear is, while we're happy that there seems to maybe be a window of opportunity tomorrow where she may be able to move, that the pressure at the border and the intensity of how many people are trying to move will create an unanticipated consequence. And just the travel is so dangerous, despite the fact that she's only a few miles away. It doesn't matter if it's a few miles or if it's 100 miles. So
we need the borders to be to allow humanitarian aid through. That's what we need, the Egypt border to have a ceasefire and to allow humanitarian aid, which is my Auntie Ramona, who's dedicated her life to helping children in the United States and veterans and everyone who needed a limb. That is her sole mission. That is her sole purpose. That is what she has done for the last 30 years. She's a world eminence there. She could not have taught these skills on Zoom. They are handmade prosthetics that she is capable of making and fashioning out of very rudimentary materials that are available there. And we need her home with us too. So bring Auntie Ramona home.
I know that you're scared, and I know that it's so hard.
It's really
I know
hard.
it's hard, and I know you can't talk to her, so you don't know what's going on. And I can't tell you, and I'm not going to tell you that we know that there's an easy way out in this situation. The intensity is only going in one direction. Hopefully there'll be some discernment on the ground among the troops, and that the aid workers understand the situation, and they'll be in big numbers so they're identifiable as that. We'll stay on the story. If there's any information we can give you, if there's any information you have to give to help, let me know, and we're a call away, okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You guys stay with each other, stay together, and keep in your hearts that your aunt is, she's one of the angels among us. And hopefully she will be protected and she will get home. I hope to hear that story so much. All right. So look, the situation in Gaza is only going to intensify. This is a technicality about whether the invasion has happened in earnest. It's going on right now. The latest number, again, is 2,000 killed. It's almost impossible to believe that that number is accurate. In these situations, you'll hear the term a kinetic situation. It just means that a lot is going on, and they're not able to count the dead. They're barely able to keep count of the dead here in Israel, and they've had days to process it. There's so many families still waiting for identification. Part of the problem is there are too many bodies. Part of the problem is they can't identify the bodies. And we're going to take a break. I'm going to take your calls. I know that you have so many concerns about this. I don't have all the answers. We don't even know how we're going to get out of here. 844-968-7720. I'll tell you what I know, and I welcome your questions. Now, when we come back, we have to lock in this understanding of desperate people do desperate things. The Israeli people are a mighty military force, okay? But they are motivated by one of the darkest fears imaginable that I can't identify with, which is a very real belief that there are groups of people, Hamas being just one of them, surrounding them that want to kill them because of what they are. And that is driving the intensity. I want to bring somebody in after the break who is fighting for Israel, who has been on the ground and seen what was done with these targets of opportunity by Hamas and what they have been instructed to do with everyone that they find. I want you to hear from him because he's seen it firsthand. And it is a big window into the reality of what is happening in the heads and hearts of the Israeli people right now. Stay with us. All right, this was the scene outside our hotel. If not for the Iron Dome and the Grace, I don't know where these shells were going to land because they were way too close. And that is the reality in Israel. And that is part of what is motivating a desperation to make this stop. The question is, what would you do if you knew that you were surrounded by people who want to kill you? We are seeing Israel's answer in real time. Now, we have a very unusual opportunity, okay? We have an active Israeli soldier who is part of this force. He is down on the border. I'm only going to call him Ben because identity matters. The good guys and the bad guys, any way you want to look at it, all monitor social media. Ben, thank you very much for giving us a window into the reality. I hope that you are safe. I appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
I just want to give people some shape to what is in the heads and the hearts of the Israeli military who are going into this situation. From the American perspective, Israel is so strong and so dominant that they don't understand necessarily the need to apply this force to what is seen as an inferior foe. What is it that motivates Israelis like yourself to see the threat as grave as you do to warrant this type of reaction?
I'm going to tell you honestly, like, Chris, none of us want to be here. We all, I'm in the reserve unit. I'm 26 years old. A bunch of these guys that I'm with are anywhere from 22 to over 40 years old, have families, have wives, kids, have a job. None of us want to be here, really. We want to be doing our normal day-to-day lives. But what happened on Saturday morning on October 7th, the complete butcher and massacre of all these civilians and also and the soldiers, just, we have to rise to the call of action. We have to be here. We have to protect our country because we have no other choice. If we don't do this, then we'll see what happened. We saw what happened on Saturday, and that will continue to happen. This has nothing to do with, creating a state, creating a two-state solution, living in peace. Any of this, it has nothing to do with that. This is simple, outright cold-blooded hatred, and the massacre of these people is just proof of that. The babies, the children, the
now, Ben, we're
teenagers.
showing people. we're showing people some of the pictures that you sent us from this kibbutz, and you just tell this completely frightening tale of how many bodies were pulled out of this and how you were each praying the prayer of mourning with each body bag that came out. And you were in the same area where these murdered babies were found, and you were also able to find out what instructions that Hamas attackers were carrying on them. What did you learn about what the literal instructions were for them?
Yeah, it's very clear, Chris. They had one line on their on what was found on them of their instructions. That was hunt and kill everything that moves, including pets, including animals, men, women, children, the elderly, babies, infants, and even animals were just completely killed. It's clear, that it was written for them, and what we're seeing is proof of that.
What did it do to you to see what they were willing to do to non-combatants, even children?
It's really tough, Chris. I'm still taking it in, processing it, and I'm sure I'm still going to be processing this for years to come after. Things I've been seeing are things I wish I would have never seen in my life. I would never wish it upon anybody else to see in their lives. But it gives me a feeling that we have to be here. This is what we have to be doing. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, really, in the world. I'm proud to be where I am and to be with the people that I am, serving where I am. And we know that what's coming and what we have to do, and that's our goal, is to destroy Hamas and make sure that Hamas doesn't have the ability to do what they did to us on Saturday. That's our goal. Make sure that this can never happen again.
Ben, I wish you safety. I know that you've a young life. I know you've got a full life. I know you've got dreams and ambitions, and I know that there's just something completely terrifying about what you have been forced to see and deal with and process. And I wish you safety, and I hope that you get home.
Thank you so much, Chris. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody as well for all the support. It gives us strength. Hearing all the support and the warm messages coming from all over the world and from my hometown in Los Angeles as well. It gives me the strength to keep going and move forward and take care of business and come home safe. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you having me on.
God bless. Be safe. We're going to take a break. I'm going to take your calls. And I do know what's going through some of your minds right now, which is, wait a minute, he doesn't sound Israeli. A lot of people here are Israeli American. People who died are Israeli American. The guy sounds like he's from L.A. because he's from L.A. We have a very close connection to what's happening here. But remember this also. We have, as Americans, close connections to people who are in Gaza as well. There is nothing but suffocating pain in this situation. And there is only pain to come. It's not a situation where I can suggest that there's going to be a good outcome. There's going to be peace. There's going to be resolution. The only thing for sure is pain. We're going to take a break. I know you have questions about what's happening and where and why. I don't understand why there's so many questions about whether we were okay after the explosion. I'm here, my brothers and sisters. Bartley, Jonathan, the whole team. We're all here. We're okay. Thank God for the Iron Dome that we're underneath and for the grace. I'll take your calls right after this.
Yeah, he's coming up after this call. So let's go to Randy in Phoenix, Arizona.
Randy, what's your question?
Hey, Chris, appreciate you. I'm kind of concerned with a lot of the rhetoric in the news, specifically coming out of Western media. I do appreciate the job you're doing, but also it kind of seems like a lot of the issues in Palestine historically are being overlooked. I'm also concerned with a lot of the news coming from the president regarding pictures that may or may not have even been seen by anyone or exist. And not to like sound too cynical, but like when the Democrats and Republicans are like this united over a war, it is kind of concerning that is this like the military industrial complex like working the way it's like meant to, or is this organic? And then also the reports of the warnings from the Egyptian government, other places to Israel that seem to have been ignored.
Well, that part I don't know. I'll give you an interesting irony. Very often when you're in the middle of a situation, you know the least about the context that you're learning at home. All I know is what I see and what I hear and what we experience. What you're hearing about what intelligence was given and by whom and, who knew what, I don't have anything for you on that. And frankly, I'm not that focused on it right now because there's a bigger concern. And look, I'd love to wave away your cynicism and say, get out of that tinfoil hat. You're not being given a lot of reason to believe in America right now. You don't have people giving you the best of themselves and giving you aspirational things and capturing your imagination about a chance for better in your life. I get it. I get it. We're just tearing each other down all the time because it works in terms of the retention and the application of power within our system. That's the reality. And the media playing down what's happening in Palestine, you have to pick your forum. You got to pick your platform. You got to pick your outlet. You got to pick your person. Okay? It's just like everything else in your life. Everybody knows that Palestine is a screwed up situation and that the people there are living in a state of desperation. And we have to be able to hold two ideas in our head at the same time. We lived it on 9/11. I've been there. The people in Afghanistan and even parts of Pakistan and in Iraq, they feel, so many of them, abandoned by the United States for what happened decades ago. And they're not wrong. That there were promises that weren't kept. And they are desperate and destitute, so much so that they fall prey to extremism. And that's who falls prey to extremism, are people who are desperate, who are looking for a way out, who are looking for some kind of salvation. But when they hit us that way, we did not have that conversation that's going on right now. Well, but look what we contributed to in that part of the world. That's why they just flew planes into our buildings, as if it would be okay. It was not okay. And when President Bush walked on that rubble in a city that was not his friend, that did not vote for him, and he said, everyone will hear our anger and our voice. The country came together because it wanted to protect itself. And there was no discussion about whether or not we had something to do with the outrage that was unleashed on us. Because at a certain point, what was done is too much and is unacceptable. And you can have your questions about what was done to babies, all right? I didn't see the photos. That's why I haven't been showing them to you, and I haven't been reporting on it that way. Gets confirmed by the prime minister, gets confirmed by our president. I can't ignore that either. But I will tell you, my brother, I have seen things that I know happened here that I have not seen in a long time. And it is well beyond fighting back. It is a kind of human destruction that speaks to a darkness that I wouldn't want anywhere near me as a point of threat. Anywhere near me. And I get why there is a desperation here. Where it finds its end, I don't know. And whether it is justifiable, I don't know. We're going to have to see. You could make the case already that too many people are paying a price for Hamas and that the Palestinians don't deserve it. So we're going to take a break. And look, I wish I could give you better answers. I wish that I could say to you, hey, I know that this part was right and this part was wrong. There's pain everywhere. The people in Palestine are suffering gravely right now. Kids are dying. Families are dying right now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I hope to have the Israeli command here to help us understand where we're headed. All right, we're joined now by Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, IDF spokesperson. Colonel, thank you. It's good to have you with us again.
Thank you for having me.
The idea that Israel has said to people in Gaza, now is the time to leave. How do you reconcile that with the reality that too many of them have nowhere to go? Egypt border is closed. Nobody else is asking or offering them any sanctuary. Aren't they going to be in harm's way? And what do you do with that reality?
Yeah, fair question, but we have to be when we look at the situation. We haven't told them go. We've told them go south of the Gaza River, which is a clear geographical characteristic of the Gaza Strip. And we have told them why they need to do it, because they need to be protected and not at risk or less at risk. So we're not expecting them to leave the Gaza Strip. We're telling them that we are going to focus our operations on the Gaza city area, and it's not safe for you to stay there. So if you care about your safety and that of your family's safety, go south.
In some of these early steps on the ground in Gaza, have any hostages been located yet?
Unfortunately not. We have not located, and we didn't anticipate that we would be able to locate hostages. Our operations on the ground were focused on collecting intelligence and trying to put together the many pieces of a puzzle that we have, actually 1,300 pieces to that puzzle. Many of them have been solved, and many of the bodies, those 1,300 bodies, have been identified. But we still have people that are either missing or abducted, dead or alive. And that was the aim of that operation. We were able to find some useful intelligence and to shed a little bit more light on what is a very daunting task for us.
Understood. Understood. Colonel, thank you for making the case. I appreciate it, and I wish you safety. Thank you for informing us on the show. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to break now. Dan Abrams is going to pick up the coverage. You know, look, the outstanding question is going to be how much of these Israeli efforts target Hamas versus innocents. That is going to wind up being the tale of what made this worthy or unworthy as retaliation. Please stay with our coverage at NewsNation. We're here for you. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.